I welcome Anne Beamish to the stage, or the virtual stage. Welcome.
Hi, Alex.
Thank you for joining me.
How are you holding up?
Well, 16 hours in, and after that last session, I'm not sure if you caught it because it was on a different stream.
Yeah, I saw it.
Was this right? Sorry, 1 second, Anne. Sorry. Who are you after? Christine? Oh, fine. Sorry. Yeah, I'm not sure if you caught the last session, Anne.
Yeah, I saw it.
Just phenomenal. And I had to switch streams over and pick myself up off the floor, if I'm honest. Just wonderful. And anyone who was on the last stream, just a couple of more comments, just because I want to send them to Courtney afterwards. What a wonderful message to finish that stream on.
Yeah, I know the strength is just, blows me away anyway.
Do you know what's beautiful, and it ties in so perfectly to you coming on the stream now, is it's the power of environment and the power of, that Cambridge space. Obviously, we kind of taken on that space in the Grafton Centre with Souk for a short period of time, and Courtney had come off she was just a member of public buying some goods and engaged with our team, and then we just all fell in love with her because she's just an amazing human. And then that was that, and it just shows the power of independent businesses, the power of supporting your local businesses, because they create opportunity for conversation.
Well, yeah, because I mean, it's local people, isn't it? And this is what, is the whole thing about the local agenda, whether it's, it's to do with communities, to do with businesses. I mean, they're all the same people, they're business owners, but they're local residents, they're, people who might be governors at schools, they raise money for charities, they want to shop locally as well. It kind of mixes it all up, which is, what I find probably the most sort of thrilling about the whole thing. There's no separation, and Cambridge particularly, it's got this, ridiculously large global reputation. But the reality is, it's a small fen town with a university plonked on top of it, and in small, I mean, the population of Cambridge is smaller than the smallest London borough. It's the 50th. I think it's ranked 50th in size as far as cities in the UK. I mean, it's not big.
Wow. Yeah.
But it plays on this massive kind of global stage. Yeah, actually, it's small, and if a place is small, you can get to know people, and yeah, I think it's great.
So, for anyone who doesn't know who Anne is, and you've got some fans in here, I can see already on the stream,
Wow.
including CPSL Mind, who have just popped a hi, Anne, as well. I'm sure you've had engagement with them, as most people that care about mental health have. Who is Anne Beamish? And could you just give us, because it's your 10th year anniversary, congratulations for Indie Cambridge. You've been doing what I've been dreaming of doing for a long time, and you've been doing it for a long time. So could you just give us a bit of an introduction into what Indie Cambridge stands for and your role in that?
Yeah, well, Indie Cambridge is a membership organisation for small independent businesses, basically. And that could, although it says Indie Cambridge, it's actually, we have members throughout Cambridgeshire. If you run a small business and you've got a CB postcode, or you're within Cambridgeshire, then you can become a member of Indie Cambridge. And what we do is it's about building a community. And so we have get-togethers, we share skills. We publish a magazine called the Indie Magazine, so we do promotion as well. Sort of my background was publishing, so I think it started off as a sort of coffee table style book. We published 3 issues of those, but then the people that were in that started to refer to themselves as members. So we thought, hang on a minute, these people feel a sense of belonging. I mean, it's one of those things that it's quite difficult sometimes starting a business when it's a passion for a start, because you can get really sort of burnt out with it, can't you? Because you really believe in what you're doing. You're not just selling, you're not just selling widgets or whatever. It's
Yeah.
actually something that means something. And also, you're sort of, we set up something that there was nothing to follow, that we were sort of, we've had to make it up as we've gone along, but actually that's been informed by the businesses we work with. So, yeah, it's 10 years, I can't believe it. But yeah.
It's pretty awesome, It's pretty
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah, and like I say, it's changed so much, and obviously over the last 2 years, it's had to kind of change again. But I think if anything, seeing the support from the public for small businesses and that recognition that hang on a minute, maybe this kind of global way of doing things isn't so great. We've been sold the idea that it was, but who's benefiting from it? And the local companies that were open throughout the lockdowns, when people couldn't get on big supermarket waiting lists to get food delivered, who was open?
Well, yeah, exactly.
I live off Mill Road in Cambridge, and on the corner of where my house was, there's Hillary's, the greengrocers. And I remember going to speak to one of the guys that worked there, and he was absolutely exhausted. They were opening, all the time. They were incredibly busy, queues of people, all that kind of anxiety about the whole situation. And I remember he said to me that he was being called a key worker now, that he, in the media, that he was an essential key worker. And he said, I hope people remember that, when things go back to normal. So let's hope they do.
Let's hope it maintains. It was interesting because we've over in St Neots, there's a commercial kind of route. It's called Rowley Arts Centre, cinema there. There, Prezos and whatever else. There's one independent business there, and I remember the absolute palaver to get him to actually have his independent business set up there because he was deemed a risk when they first put him in there. He had to fight a year-long battle to get in, and then surprise, surprise, the pandemic comes. Who's the only one paying rent? Yeah. Who's the only one still paying their rates? Well, the big chains have all just gone, no, stop paying. Yeah. It's actually the independents, and you've rightfully pointed out again, it's always the independents that are the ones who turn up in their waves when required, when community needs their support for whatever, always. And actually, like you say, it's so, I think it's quite exciting. Obviously, it's been really stressful. It's been really hard for everyone. But I don't know about you, but I feel really optimistic about the future because I do believe that kind of microeconomy mindset, that really hyper-local focus is the focus. It feels like that way anyway.
Yeah, well, yes, I hope so too. It's not something that's going to happen overnight, and I suppose there's always going, the big players, the Amazons of this world or whatever, the resources are just, staggering. But
they make a loss. They make a loss on their e-commerce just so they can dominate a space for data, right?
Yeah, yeah, and just don't get me started on the environmental impact of all that. I mean, but I think there is a realization, and there's a realization that because I think prior to the pandemic, people thought, well, maybe independent businesses, they're all very well, but they're for the kind of wealthy, sort of middle class, middle-aged type customer. But I think there's been a shift, and people really, I know from my daughter who's in her early 20s, her and her sort of cohort, they've got a list of companies that they refuse to buy from, and they try and buy all secondhand clothes, and small things, because I'm sure she'd still love to go on holiday to Spain if she got a chance, but there are sort of rumblings, I think, out there. So yeah, let's hope so.
It's intriguing, isn't it? It's really intriguing to see how we react. But it's wonderful. I mean, we had a conversation well, I don't know what time it was this morning, probably about 4 o'clock this morning. It was one of those deep philosophical conversations. I was early hours, and we were talking about, why would any business now exist without some kind of tie or commitment to their local community or some kind of social movement? Because I think personally, I feel like, and what you're saying kind of backs that up. That's what the consumers are going to want. Like they're going to expect that you as a business have a crucial role to play in your local environment, in your local community, and that needs to be baked in at the front end of every business. As far as I'm concerned, everything should be a social enterprise from this point onwards.
That yes, because how do you label something as not? You could have something that is this is the thing as well. Just because something's a commercial entity, it doesn't mean that therefore all that other stuff isn't part of what they do. It's I know companies are sort of like a thing, aren't they? But they are made up of people, and they've got somebody leading them, no, whatever size that company is. So I think the other thing that we noticed as well was how independent businesses help each other as well. And we see that all the time with our membership. People suggesting other things to people that might, other business owners that might help them, wanting to champion, even if they're in the same, sector, actually wanting to champion other independent businesses. And that's where the strength comes from. I mean, we're tiny as an organisation. I wish we had the budget to tell everybody to go out there and shop independently, but we're sort of growing it from within, because that's where the strength is going to come from.
And that's a wonderful man, a guy called John O'Brien, MBE. He's a phenomenal man for change, and he always talks about that. That's the best kind of change. It's the percolated change through community across the ground level, rather than the filtered top-down approach, which we've been abused with as an economy for decades. And it's changed like yours, and actually, 10 years worth of vision, to persist. Anyone who's watching this who's a business owner, which I imagine a lot of people that are watching this are business owners, to get to 10 years is a phenomenal achievement, and you should be really proud of what you've achieved. And everyone I speak to about you is like in awe of you. I saw the fans come in their troves when you announced your post here, so I really appreciate that.
Well, they're a really supportive bunch, but they're so positive as well. It is. I do get sometimes a bit emotional about it, because it just they are an incredible bunch of people.
So today, as you know, today is very much about mental health and mental fitness, what we're championing here. And of course, a wonderful CPSL Mind as a charity is what we're fundraising for. With the exposure that you've had to business owners over the last 2 to 3 years in particular, how when I ask you about the strength and the resilience of business owners in your community, what comes to mind? What comes to mind when I talk about resilience for them? Because I can imagine probably some emotions, but
Yeah.
I know from our own community within Shifties, having seen, people end up in hospital with the stress, and the businesses going bust, and families having issues, and all sorts of cascading things that happen within the business community. How does that shape for you?
Yeah, I think one of the worst aspects of business is the sense that everybody has to keep trying to pull this confidence trick the whole time, and I think that seems to be the thing that really gets to people after a while, that they're constantly having to pretend that everything's wonderful, and the business is great, and that can seriously have a bad effect on you. And I think, when the pandemic first hit, I mean, we didn't know what it meant for our business, but in a way, it kind of, I didn't really kind of think about that so much. It was more, I was phoning up a lot of the members just to find out how they were, because usually I'd get on my bike and I'd cycle around and I'd, say hi, and just phoning up people and just being natural and just saying, look, how are you? And I think it's that thing about how, let's talk about the business second to how are you as a person. And I think, I don't know, I just, we, some of the people that we work with, some of our members, we've had on board with us for pretty much all that 10 years. And they're not sort of like close friends as such, but they are people that I know very well. And I think it's just that thing of just being honest. I think if the business community as a whole was more honest about some of the difficulties and shared some of those experiences, I think it would be stronger as a whole, definitely.
Well, hopefully we're going some way to contribute to that kind of mission today with some of this conversation. I got a bit of a leading question, I suppose, but
Oh God.
how well, maybe not. I don't know. Maybe you'll surprise me with your response. How well do you think small independent businesses are represented in the UK at a policy level, at a government level? How well?
Not very well at all.
Why is that?
Well, I guess it's because, you're talking about, I mean, I think is it small to medium-sized businesses make up, sort of like a massive
96%.
percentage. 90, yeah, I was going to say 96, 97% of the economic activity in this country, which is kind of mind-blowing, isn't it, really? But you're talking about a lot of individual, thousands and thousands of individual companies, aren't you? Whereas you haven't got that. And okay, there are some central voices that are supposedly leading on that, but it doesn't feel to me as if the reality that there's not the strength in that those collective voices, and I just don't think they're heard. I mean, you've got people, lobbyists for one big global company will have much more influence than a voice for all these thousands of small businesses. Yeah.
No, I think I asked you because I know you're honest, and we've had conversations away from the public around this, and I think it's an important thing because the reason I asked you to come onto this because there needs to be more representation at a community level around what our local businesses need, not at a district level, not at a national level. It's much in line with the way that we should be buying our milk from the milk float here. Our councils should be led, and the policies and money should be led by people like yourself
Yeah.
that are actually in touch and having conversations with businesses.
Yeah, and I mean, well, going back to what I said at the beginning about Cambridge being small, which actually means that the council, what the revenue they get through council tax and stuff like that is really small. I mean, Cambridge City Council is not very rich at all.
No.
Yet, if you as a resident in Cambridge spent just £5 a week at an independent, which is literally the price of a cup of coffee and a bit of cake, really, isn't it? I think it's worth something like, it would be worth an extra like 25 million pounds to the local economy on an annual basis. It's not just about the sort of the trendy side of the indie kind of experience. I mean, these are companies that are contributing a massive amount economically to the place where they're based. But then what effect would that have on local services and things like that? It would be a huge leap forward. But yeah, their voice is not really heard. And I mean, I guess that's probably the biggest frustration about what I do is that
Yeah.
I just, I just want to sort of, go on some sort of, but that is religious kind of experience and tell everybody that, you can't. You just have to you have to be realistic about what you can achieve, I think.
Yeah, well, I can imagine you've been involved in a lot of conversations over the 10 years that you've been running Indie Cambridge, because people will inevitably come to you for your feedback and your answers and your response. But I can see very quickly how that can become tiring when there's no change that follows the response. So I wanted to get a soundbite from you, Anne, because it supports a wider agenda that that we have. But you know what I mean. I think we have the same core values when it comes from our community to yours.
Yeah.
It's we have
Yeah.
the same core values around that. It's about representation of people, and that's what it's all about. And yes, businesses are the vehicle for those people, but it's about humans, and we're looking after one another and supporting community. And I congratulate you on everything that you've achieved and what you've done with Indie Cambridge. And I'm looking forward to collaborating with you in the future for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, looking forward to it too, Alex.
Awesome. Well, I asked two questions, and well, I can't ask you two questions because that is staying purple for the rest of the stream. I've been changing the color of our Shifty sign,
Oh,
but
okay. I'll go with purple then, shall I, Alex?
yes, please. Yeah. Well, Courtney had inspired us all, and we've said we're going to keep it purple for the rest of the day in honor of her message for more inclusion around accessibility in that conversation. So I have one question to ask you, which is, what are you most excited for in 2022? It could be personal, that could be business, that could be anything.
Yeah. Well, two things really. I suppose business-wise, yeah, like you say, we are celebrating 10 years this year, and so we're starting to kind of think about some fun stuff we can do with the membership, because to be honest, just getting everybody together is such good fun. And so, things around that. I also recently, my partner and I actually became grown-ups recently and moved in together after being together for quite a long time. So I'm looking forward to, sort of cohabiting again after many years. So that should be interesting.
Very nice. Well, good luck with that transition.
Thank you.
Well, wonderful. Well, thank you so much for your support. We will be getting together and collaborating as soon as we can, because I cannot wait for that party. That's going to be something special.
Yeah, it's going to be good.
Awesome.
Oh, well, good luck with the rest of this, Alex. You're doing a really good thing.
Thank you.